Taxes, tax laws, and tax administration. Introduction to tax law sources. Not all tax rules carry the same weight. It is essential to distinguish between the source of the law and its interpretation. Tax laws, these are statutes passed by Congress, e.g., the NIRC or the Train Law. They are the primary source of the state's taxing power. Revenue regulations, RRs, issued by the Secretary of Finance upon the recommendation of the BIR. These provide the implementing details of the law. They have the force and effect of law. Revenue rulings, these are interpretations or opinions issued by the BIR in response to specific taxpayer queries. They are not laws but provide guidance on how the BIR applies the law to specific facts.
What makes a tax a tax? A tax is an enforced proportional contribution from persons and property, levied ila the law-making body of the state by virtue of its sovereignty. Essential elements. Enforced, it is not a voluntary payment or donation. Legislative, it can only be imposed ila the law-making body, Congress. Proportional, it is generally based on the ability to pay. Payable in money, generally collected in legal tender. For public purpose, the revenue must be used for the common good.
Organizing the tax landscape. To understand the system, we categorize taxes based on who pays them and how they are calculated. Category, types. As to subject matter, personal/capitation, poll tax versus property tax. As to burden, direct, paid by the taxpayer, e.g., income tax versus indirect, shifted to others, e.g., VAT. As to determination, specific, based on weight/number, versus ad valorem, based on value/selling price. As to scope, national, BIR, versus local, LGU. The Adam Smith fundamentals. For a tax system to be effective and sound, it must meet three primary criteria. Fiscal adequacy, the sources of revenue must be sufficient to meet the government's expenditures. Administrative feasibility, the tax laws must be capable of convenient, just, and effective administration. They shouldn't be too clunky to follow. Theoretical justice, the tax burden should be in proportion to the taxpayer's ability to pay principal. Powers of the BIR and the CIR. The enforcement arm. The Bureau of Internal Revenue, BIR, is the agency, while the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, CIR, is its chief. Primary power, to assess and collect all national internal revenue taxes, fees, and charges. The SIR-specific powers. To interpret tax laws and decide tax cases. To obtain information, summon witnesses, and take testimony. To make assessments and prescribe additional requirements for tax administration. To inventory assets of taxpayers and terminate tax periods. Non-delegable powers of the CIR. While the CIR can delegate most duties to subordinates, Section 7 of the Tax Code specifies certain powers that only the Commissioner can exercise. The power to recommend the promulgation of rules and regulations to the Secretary of Finance. The power to issue first-instance rulings or reverse existing BIR rulings. The power to compromise or abate any tax liability, subject to certain thresholds. The power to assign or reassign internal revenue officers to establishments where articles subject to excise tax are produced. Thank you for your attention.